So, this is an article from the Daily Mail. The White House has resorted to using teenage Tick Tock stars as political propagandists. And here is one of the ladies which has been summoned to the White House to be briefed on the economical and geopolitical situation of the United States. Now, you are probably a person who likes to be informed and stay up to date to world affairs, but you don't know who this lady is. And that is because she caters to a different audience. She does dances on TikTok. She's an entertainer, not a political expert. But the White House summoned her nonetheless in order to, as I mentioned before, brief her on the current events. And after that, she is now going to brief the public on what the White House told her.
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said. The obvious reason: we're getting out of a 2-year pandemic. When use goes up, price goes up. But the call was predominantly about Ukraine and Russia, so how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their number 1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do international trade. So with people being scared of war and limited resources, prices are bound to go up as well. For the people who can't pay $7 for a gallon of gas, there's an app called Gas Buddy that shows you the cheapest gas near you, as well as a link in my bio to donate to the misplaced refugees of Ukraine.
Now, I was going to try my best to give a rebuttal to what she said, but
a new warrior has entered the ring!
Why is gas so expensive? And why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to be propagandized by the White House and asked them why gas down the street is $7. And here's what they should have said. The obvious reason: the Biden administration has implemented policies that curb oil production in the US. So when Biden's regulation goes up, oil production goes down. But since we're doing this game where we blame Putin and Russia, I asked, how does that relate? Since Russia is one of the top oil producers and the US doesn't want to be energy independent, we have to import oil from Russia. Now, since Putin has started this war between Ukraine and Russia, people who aren't morons realize we shouldn't be relying on foreign dictators. So, with people being scared of war and limited resources, prices are going up because we rely on foreign dictators instead of ourselves. For people who can't pay $7 for a gallon of gas, there's an app called Stop Being Fucking Poor and Buy a Tesla, as well as a link in my bio to donate to TikTokers who are in desperate need of a quality education.
I would just add one more thing though. The pandemic isn't responsible for destroying the economy. Like, most people would have still gone to work and kept producing goods if the government would have let them. But no, the government shut down businesses. Remember when the government said that some businesses are essentials and some aren't? And it was the biggest wealth transfer in history where the rich became richer? Do you remember that? Of course not. Of course we won't remember that. That is going to be completely forgotten. Buried under the rug. But yeah, I like how the White House is using TikTok influencers like Pokemons. Just send them to do battle to educate the masses. Very, very beautiful. Now, let's have a serious conversation about this. Number one, is it propaganda? So what is propaganda? Propaganda is when you tell people what to think about the situation. Educating people is when you tell them how to think. So, for example, if the TikTok influencer would have came out and it was said, okay, this is how the gas prices function. It's based on supply and demand. This is where the United States is getting gas from. This is how many oils they produce. And this is how much energy consumption the US requires. That would have been education, right? That's educating the public so that you know how to calculate the gas prices yourself. When the TikTok influencer comes out and she says, no, look, the US politicians did a flawless job. Everything they did was absolutely perfect. They did everything that was required of them. But unfortunately, bad things happened in the world that was outside of human control. And this is why you need to stop being poor and buy a Tesla. Now, take into account that this is not the political consensus. Not everyone in the US government agrees. In fact, I were to say that this explanation is very partisan on behalf of the Democrats. From what I have listened coming from the Republicans and many of their speeches, they disagree with the first TikTok lady. They agree with the second, which is why I'm saying it's like a Pokemon battle now. But all jokes aside, is it surprising that this is happening? Absolutely not. Every major conflict throughout human history has managed to sweep away a lot of the incompetence that the political leaders have done before the conflict. So, for example, the Great Depression in the United States. The Great Depression was made worse by the interference of the government in the free market. I mean, a lot of economists agree to this. This is not controversial of what I'm saying. But when World War II happens, all of that is swept under the rug, and the people who messed the economy up aren't going to be held responsible. Also, Thomas Sowell has a very good video on YouTube explaining how the New Deal wasn't responsible for pulling America out of the crisis, it was the war. But anyway, I digress. My point is that I would have been shocked, I would have been surprised that it would actually be newsworthy if politicians of every country didn't try to sweep under the rug some of their incompetence or even some of their mismanagement on the back of what's happening right now in Eastern Europe. So anyone who follows politics, anyone who knows human history, isn't shocked by this in the slightest. Okay, it's perfectly the norm. It's very predictable. But what isn't predictable and what is shocking is that the US has to use TikTokers in order to accomplish this goal. In other words, they have lost faith in their mainstream media apparatus. They have lost faith that CNN and the other mainstream media like MSNBC can actually carry the message properly. So now they have to go and get TikTokers that aren't even into politics and they just do dancing in order to reach the population. And this is sad because it shows that politicians and academics and the mainstream media have burned away their credibility. So now the most credible people in society seem to be TikTok dancers. And the government is desperate to try and convince the TikTok dancers to reach their audience. Like, let that sink in. This lady has more credibility than the White House. Because the White House relies on her, okay? Like, instead of just having a press conference and having Jen Psaki tells you why the gas prices are going up, which they do, by the way, they consider that to not be enough. So they have to go to this lady right here who does dances on TikTok in order to lecture you and explain to you, because she is more likely to earn your confidence than the actual politicians. Okay, let's just let that sink in for a change. Just allow the bathroom door to open and for that sink to come in. And secondly, expect more of this in the future. Like we have seen it during the pandemic. There was a scandal. Well, scandal, quote unquote. It wasn't even hidden. Like it was public that the UK government have paid YouTubers to be in favor of the lockdown measures in 2020. So they had YouTube videos not disclosing, I guess that was the scandal, because the YouTubers themselves didn't disclose that they were getting money to do this. And it seemed that it's an organic thing. It seemed like it's a grassroots thing. I mean, maybe it was. Maybe that particular YouTuber did support the rich becoming richer and businesses being declared non-essential. Maybe that's the case, but he also got money from the government to do this. So I expect more of this in the future. Like if this works, if this actually sways public opinion, then I do expect the government to do more. Because like if something is working, keep doing it. That's how things are like in politics. And it's common sense. It's logical, right? So when you see a person that you like to follow, again, I keep giving this lady because she's in the news, but there's other TikTokers. If you see a TikToker that does dancing or plays video games or whatever they do, because I don't follow TikTok, all of a sudden talk about politics, your mind should come back to 17th of March 2022 and remember this article. Just take this into account. That now the government can use influencers in order to spread their message. And again, it's not even the government. It's part of the government. Right? In this case, it's the Democratic Party. Because as I mentioned, it's not a bipartisan issue. Like, the Republicans do not agree that this is the reason for why the gas prices have gone up. And not to mention, the gas prices were going up way, way before this conflict. I mean, when you have a policy of, oh, we're going to go green energy, so let's stop drilling like we used to drill. Let's ban fracking. Let's ban the Keystone Pipeline. Let's do this. Let's do that. Well, then there's less gas to go around. And when there's less gas to go around, the price for gas goes up. But, you know, it is what it is. And by the way, another thing which this TikToker failed to mention is that, from what I understand, the US president is now trying to get gas from Venezuela. You know that Venezuela is like one of the top 4 allies of Russia? I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I don't know if the White House gives all this information to their TikTokers, but probably they consider that to be too much info and the public doesn't need to know. Because again, like, why do you need to think when you have TikTokers explaining geopolitics to you? Makes life a lot more easier, doesn't it? You don't have to think, you just have to watch the pretty lady tell you what's going on. And of course, people in the comment section, this is why I read the Daily Mail. Like, people keep asking me, it's like, why do you read the Daily Mail? Do you not know that it's a bad rag? Blah, blah, blah. It's because it actually has comments. Like, I would rather read a rag that I know pushes fake news that has comment sections enabled. Because in the comment sections, people debunk the article if it's fake news. The Daily Mail has published some bad news in the past, but usually the ones that I talk about on my channel are verified by sources. I don't think anyone denies what's happening here. I don't think like anyone is saying, oh, V, no, hold on, the White House didn't invite TikTokers. It's fake. No, everyone agrees with this. I have confirmed it from other sources, but the most important aspect is that it has comment section. And I have a lot of respect for any publication that has comment sections enabled. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment sections, which are enabled, by the way.